Welcome to Stoic Growth Elevator. Today, we're about to challenge everything you've been telling yourself. If you're ready to stop holding yourself back and start living with purpose, then buckle up because this video is for you. We're diving into Stoic philosophy to reveal the 7 things an intelligent man never says. These are the words that keep you stuck, the phrases that limit your potential, and the excuses that prevent you from stepping into your true power. The Stoics knew that the mind is everything, and the language you speak shapes your reality. An intelligent man doesn't just think, he speaks with purpose, with clarity, and with the discipline to avoid self-sabotage. In this video, we'll expose 7 common phrases that intelligent men avoid, and why they understand that what you say is what you become. From the "I'll do it later" to the "that's just how I am," these phrases are mental prisons. If you've been using them, it's time to break free. Are you ready to stop hiding behind excuses and start living with urgency? To take control of your life and your language? Let's dive in, because real growth begins with the words you choose to say and the ones you choose to leave behind. Number 1, I already know that. We've all been in situations where someone shares information and our immediate reaction is, I already know that. It feels like a reflex, almost instinctual. But what we fail to recognize in that moment is that it's more than just an automatic response. It's a wall we build to protect our ego. It's a signal that we've stopped being receptive, thinking we're beyond the point of learning anything new. I remember a time when I was working on a new project, and I was paired with a colleague who was known for his sharp attention to detail. As we went over the tasks, he began to explain a particular strategy that to me seemed pretty basic. Before he even finished, I casually said, "Yeah, I know that already." He smiled and nodded, not skipping a beat. But later I realized how much I missed by brushing him off. His experience was much deeper than I had realized, and he had insights that could have saved me time and effort if I had just listened. But in my mind I thought, I've got this. And in doing so, I robbed myself of the chance to learn something valuable. In that moment, I let my own arrogance speak louder than my curiosity. Stoic philosophy reminds us that this kind of mindset is the enemy of progress. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, you cannot learn anything when you think you already know everything. The danger lies not in lacking knowledge, but in the belief that our current understanding is all there is. When we think we've reached the limit of what we can learn, we miss out on the opportunity to grow in ways we can't even foresee. Later on, I realized that by closing myself off from his insight, I had missed an opportunity not only for knowledge, but for connection. Knowledge isn't just about facts and figures. It's also about seeing the world through someone else's eyes. When we dismiss what others have to offer, we distance ourselves not just from their wisdom, but from the experiences that shape their perspective. Every interaction holds a chance to learn, not just on a technical level, but on a human level, about how others think, approach problems, and view the world. That's what makes true growth, the ability to see the world from as many angles as possible, no matter how well we think we know it. This realization was a game changer for me. It highlighted the importance of humility and growth, not just humility in the face of others, but humility in our own capacity to evolve. We might think we have a strong grasp on something, but if we're unwilling to listen, we risk losing the opportunity to make that knowledge even deeper. True wisdom doesn't come from the accumulation of facts. It comes from the willingness to keep learning, no matter how confident we feel. The humblest people I've known have been the most knowledgeable because they never stop asking questions and seeking to understand. When you allow your curiosity to lead you, rather than your pride, you open yourself up to an endless well of insight. I began to realize that rejecting new information is like standing still in a fast-moving river, while the world around you continues to flow and evolve. Each time I shut off new knowledge, I felt as though I was limiting my own potential. If we stop learning, we stop growing, and that's the quickest way to become stagnant. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from those we least expect. It's crucial to approach every conversation, every experience, with an open mind, because what you think you already know might just be the very thing that propels you forward to the next level of growth. The lesson here is simple. There's no such thing as knowing it all. Real growth comes from remaining open, even when we think we have it figured out. I've seen this in others as well. Those who, despite their vast knowledge, remain humble enough to ask questions, listen actively, and continue learning. I've watched seasoned professionals who, despite having decades of experience, will still pause and listen when a younger colleague shares an idea. Their openness is what keeps them sharp. It's not about proving how much you know, it's about staying receptive to what you haven't yet discovered. The next time you feel the urge to say, "I already know that," take a step back and think about what might lie beyond your current knowledge. Could there be a deeper layer to the lesson? A new perspective you haven't considered? When you listen not just to hear, but with the intent to grow, you open yourself up to new possibilities. That is the true strength of wisdom, the ability to remain a lifelong student, always learning, always evolving. In the end, it's not about accumulating knowledge. It's about embracing the journey of continuous learning. So instead of shutting down new ideas, challenge yourself to engage with them. The greatest minds know that learning is endless, and the more you listen, the more you uncover. And sometimes it's not just the facts we learn, but the very act of listening with an open mind that transforms us. Number 2, that's impossible. We hear the phrase all the time, two small words that carry a heavy finality, "That's impossible." They masquerade as truth spoken with authority, conviction, even wisdom. But more often than not, they reveal more about the speaker's mindset than the reality of the challenge. Impossibility is rarely a fact. It is a perception, a filter made of fear, hesitation, or a lack of imagination. It draws its power not from the world as it is, but from the limits we place on ourselves. And once internalized, it becomes the gatekeeper of growth, creativity, and courage. I remember working with a team leader named Clara. She was brilliant, methodical, and meticulous to a fault. During one critical product cycle, we were faced with a technical barrier no one had predicted. While the team buzzed with ideas, risky, bold, unconventional ones, Clara shut them down swiftly. "That's impossible," she would say, before the ideas had space to breathe. It wasn't that the ideas lacked merit, it was that they threatened her comfort zone. Her instinct wasn't about protecting the team from failure, it was about protecting her from uncertainty. Picture a young child staring at a bike for the first time. It's tall, unfamiliar, and wobbly. He touches the handlebars cautiously and then steps back, declaring, "I can't do it." But what he really means is, "I haven't done it yet." And in that distinction lies everything. What looks impossible often isn't. It's just new. And once we try, wobble, fall, and try again, impossibility gives way to progress. Just like riding that bike, the first step is rarely graceful, but it's always necessary. The ancient Stoics taught that the mind is where all power resides. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Challenges are not proof that we've reached our limits. They're invitations to expand them. To call something impossible without engaging it is to walk away from our own potential. Many of the greatest breakthroughs, scientific, personal, or professional, began in spaces where people dared to question impossibility. What they had wasn't blind optimism, but a focused refusal to surrender. They understood that progress is forged not by waiting for certainty, but by moving forward despite its absence. So when someone says, "That's impossible," ask yourself, is it really? Or is it just difficult? Just uncomfortable? Just unfamiliar? More often than not, those words signal not a closed door, but a door that demands to be pushed. The wisest among us don't fear the challenge. They fear staying still. And every step they take into uncertainty builds not just results, but resilience, grit, and wisdom. So take the step. The impossible begins to break the moment we do. Number 3, that's not my fault. Few words cripple a man's growth more efficiently than, "That's not my fault." On the surface, it feels like self-defense, a necessary clarification when chaos erupts. But peel it back, and it's a quiet surrender, a whisper that says, "This isn't my problem to solve." And that's where the slow erosion of personal power begins. The most dangerous part of shirking responsibility isn't the avoidance itself, it's the habit it forms. Intelligent men don't waste energy avoiding blame. They convert it into clarity. They know that taking responsibility doesn't make you guilty, it makes you capable. Each time you refuse to own even 1% of the issue, you willingly sit on the sidelines. You give up your place in the driver's seat. Growth doesn't come from pointing fingers. It comes from asking, where can I do better? I once watched my friend Michael implode after losing a top client. His first instinct, shift the blame. The client was unreasonable. The team underperformed. The timing was off. All true in fragments. But truth without ownership is just noise. While he listed reasons, he lost momentum. He became a historian of excuses, not a strategist for solutions. Weeks turned into months, and instead of evolving, he circled the same drain, always looking outward for a fix that had to come from within. What he didn't grasp was this. In refusing to hold any piece of the failure, he forfeited the only thing within reach, his own transformation. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's a doorway. The Stoics taught that what matters isn't what happens, but how we respond. Epictetus said, "It's not events that disturb people, it's their judgment about them." When we say, "That's not my fault," we give away the power to respond with intent. But the moment we say, "I could have handled that better," we reclaim control. We break the cycle. We shift from reactive to proactive, from a bystander to a man with agency. In life, the more responsibility one accepts, the more perspective opens up. Owning shortcomings, even when they seem small, forces clarity. It transforms confusion into strategy, failure into feedback. Responsibility is a lens that sharpens with use. And here's what most men don't realize. Claiming responsibility doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. You stop being the man who waits for better circumstances and become the man who builds them. Blame is lazy. Responsibility is an act of war against stagnation. And the boldest thing a man can say in the aftermath of failure isn't, "That wasn't my fault." It's, "Watch what I do next." Because that's what separates boys from men. Not who caused the problem, but who steps up to own the solution. Number 4, I don't need any help. There's a lie many men buy into. I don't need any help. It sounds admirable, doesn't it? Strong, independent, self-reliant. Society teaches us to respect the lone warrior, the man who carries all his burdens on his own. But here's the truth. It's not admirable, it's dangerous. The refusal to ask for help doesn't signal strength, it signals pride. It's quiet, it's poisonous, and it's a straight path to burnout. By refusing to seek help, we close ourselves off from learning, growth, and the support that could be the difference between success and failure. This mindset isolates you and keeps you stuck in the very situation you're trying to escape. Let's take a look at someone like Winston Churchill, one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century. When Britain was on the brink of destruction during World War II, Churchill didn't hesitate to turn to his allies for help. He didn't carry the burden of the war on his shoulders alone. He reached out to Franklin D. Roosevelt, President of the United States, forming a powerful partnership that helped secure victory. Churchill knew that his vision for Britain's future couldn't be achieved without the support of others. Even as a man of great resolve and conviction, he understood the power of collaboration. Churchill didn't walk alone into history. He had people who helped him, counseled him, and contributed to his successes. His willingness to lean on others didn't weaken him, it strengthened him. When you refuse to ask for help, you miss out on the opportunity to gain valuable perspectives, knowledge, and resources that could elevate your path to success. This lesson isn't new. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, understood this well. Even the most powerful rulers knew they couldn't thrive in isolation. Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, often spoke of the wisdom he had gained from others. The people he leaned on for advice, the teachers who guided him, the generals who fought alongside him. Strength isn't about doing everything by yourself. It's about recognizing when you need help and taking advantage of the collective wisdom around you. But so many of us fall into the trap of thinking that asking for help is a sign of weakness. We've been taught to think that strength lies in doing it all on our own, in being the one who doesn't need anyone. But in reality, that's a fast track to exhaustion and mediocrity. When we reject help, we limit our potential and stun our growth. I've experienced this myself. There was a time I believed I had to carry everything on my own. Work, relationships, personal struggles. I thought if I admitted I needed help, it would make me seem weak. But then something shifted. When I finally reached out to trusted friends and colleagues, I realized I didn't just get the help I needed, I got clarity, perspective, and the energy to keep moving forward. The lesson is simple. True strength lies in knowing when to ask for help, not in pretending you can do it all alone. Churchill understood this. Marcus Aurelius understood this. And you should too. Next time you catch yourself thinking, I don't need any help, ask yourself, is it strength you're feeling, or just the stubborn pride of trying to go it alone? Don't let your pride rob you of the help, support, and opportunities that could elevate you. Number 5, I'm too old for that. When a man says, I'm too old for that, he isn't just stating a fact, he's conceding defeat. It's a comfortable, self-soothing phrase that allows us to feel okay about letting go of something we once wanted to pursue. But deep down, it's a lie, a resignation to the notion that the best days are behind us and that any further pursuit is pointless. Here's the ugly truth. We tell ourselves this when we're afraid of failure, afraid of the unknown, afraid of putting ourselves out there and falling short. Too old is the easy out, a way of avoiding the discomfort of trying something new. It's the voice that convinces you that the years have already been spent, and now you're simply coasting. Let me tell you something real. It's never too late. Take the story of Stan Lee, the mastermind behind Marvel Comics. Lee didn't create Spider-Man, Iron Man, or the X-Men until he was in his 40s. Before that, he had struggled in the industry for years, writing stories that didn't connect, feeling like he was on the verge of quitting. But instead of telling himself he was too old for that, he reinvented himself. He chose to see the next chapter as a chance for something greater. And we all know how that story turned out. Stan Lee didn't stop at 40. In fact, he didn't stop even when he reached his 90s. He kept working, creating, and inspiring. He knew that age doesn't define your ability to contribute. It's your willingness to keep pushing, keep trying, and keep evolving that matters. But here's where many men fail. I've known several who hit their 50s or 60s and gave up. Not because they couldn't do more, but because they believed the lie that their time had passed. They stopped learning, they stopped adapting, and with that, they stopped living fully. And once you stop living fully, you start to fade away. Slowly, the spark that once drove you is extinguished by the weight of your own defeatist thinking. The reality is, age is just a number. If you're still breathing, you're still capable of growth. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, continually reminded himself that wisdom and strength grow with time, if we remain active in mind and body. There's no magic age when growth becomes impossible. It's an ongoing process, and the older you get, the more tools you have to shape the world around you. The truth is this: no matter your age, the opportunity to learn and grow is still there. The difference between those who thrive and those who fade away isn't about age. It's about mindset. The man who decides he's too old for that is the man who's already given up. But the man who asks, what can I learn now, is the one who will keep pushing forward, constantly evolving and expanding his horizons. So stop holding yourself back. Don't let age be the reason you let go of your dreams. As long as you're alive, you've got work to do, and it's never too late to start. Number 6, I'll do it later. Imagine for a moment that you're standing at the edge of a cliff, overlooking a vast ocean. The sun is setting, casting a golden glow over the water. You feel a sense of peace, but as you take in the view, you notice something unsettling. The waves keep crashing, but they're slowly retreating. The tide is going out, and you can feel it in the pit of your stomach. You realize in that moment that the ocean isn't waiting for you to be ready to dive in. Time moves whether you're prepared or not. The longer you wait, the further the waves pull back, taking opportunities with them. The perfect moment never arrives. It's always just out of reach. This is what happens when you put things off. Time keeps slipping away, and with each delay, the chances of making a meaningful change fade. Don't wait for the tide to come in. Dive in now, before it's too late. Imagine telling yourself, I'll do it later. It sounds so easy, so reassuring, doesn't it? Just a small pause, a simple delay. You promise yourself you'll get to it soon, when the time is right. when life calms down. But here's the truth. That seemingly harmless phrase is one of the most seductive and dangerous traps we fall into. Later, it's where dreams go to die. Later isn't just a pause, it's a silent killer. It's where we bury our best intentions, where time slips through our fingers unnoticed. We tell ourselves that putting things off will give us more time to prepare, to feel ready. But the reality is that every delay steals a little more of the time we can never get back. Take a moment to think about it. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," "I'll call them next week," "I'll start that project once things settle," you're playing a dangerous game. You're gambling with time, a resource you can never control, never replace. I remember a man named Thomas. On paper, he had it all: a thriving business, a loving family, respect from everyone around him. But he was always too busy, constantly putting off what mattered most. His father was getting older, and Thomas told himself he'd visit him more, catch up with him when work wasn't so hectic. He delayed calls, postponed trips, kept pushing back that one thing that would matter forever. And then, just like that, later ran out. His father passed away suddenly, and Thomas was left with nothing but a phone full of messages he never sent and regrets that could never be undone. He didn't share this with me for sympathy, but as a warning. We all think we have time until we don't. The Stoics understood this truth better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius, the great philosopher-emperor, reminded himself daily of his own mortality, not to be grim, but to be urgent. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This isn't just a profound thought to dwell on. It's a practice, a mindset. The wise don't waste time waiting for the perfect moment because they understand one essential truth. Time doesn't wait. It doesn't care about your plans or intentions. It's slipping away regardless of what you're doing with it. What you put off today, you may never have the chance to do tomorrow. That's why the wise don't hesitate. They make the call they've been avoiding. They take the uncomfortable step toward reconciliation. They start the project that's been waiting in the back of their mind. They act not because it's easy, but because they know waiting is a dangerous game that rarely pays off. I've felt this truth in my own life. I've delayed tough conversations, avoided writing that letter, thinking I'd have more time. But when I stopped waiting and took action, something extraordinary happened. The weight of regret lifted, clarity replaced confusion, and I realized that it's not intentions that create a life worth living. It's action. The Stoics teach us to live with urgency, to stop waiting for later. Later is an illusion that tricks us into thinking we have time. But the man who acts today, who refuses to let the important things wait, lives without regret. That's wisdom, because opportunity doesn't come around again. It quietly fades away while we're busy waiting for a better time. Number 7, that's just how I am. Imagine for a moment that you're standing in front of a mirror, staring at the person you've always been, and then you say, "That's just how I am." It feels comforting, doesn't it? Like a safety net, an excuse to stop pushing, stop growing, and stop evolving. But what if I told you that this simple phrase is nothing more than a cage you've built for yourself, a trap that locks you in a life of stagnation? "That's just how I am" is the death sentence of potential. You see, this phrase isn't a statement of truth. It's a declaration of surrender. It's the easy way out, a refusal to acknowledge that you have the power to change, to grow, and to become something more. It's the mindset of someone who's decided that their current limitations are their identity. And that, my friend, is the real danger. The truth is, who we are is constantly shaped by what we choose to do. Every action, every decision, every habit we cultivate defines us. The moment you say, "I can't change," you're not declaring who you are. You're admitting that you've chosen to stop trying, to stop fighting, to stop becoming better. I've seen it over and over again. Men who lash out in anger, shrugging it off with, "That's just how I am." Or those who refuse to connect with others, staying comfortably distant, telling themselves, "That's just how I've always been." What they're really saying is, "I'm afraid of change, so I'll hide behind my excuses." But here's the brutal truth. Those excuses aren't facts, they're just crutches. They're the easy way out. They allow you to avoid the uncomfortable, painful work of growth. They let you off the hook for the one thing that truly matters, taking responsibility for who you are and who you choose to become. The Stoics understood this deeply. They weren't interested in accepting themselves as they were. They were obsessed with the idea of becoming better, of mastering themselves. Epictetus, for instance, said that it's not external things that disturb us, it's our judgments about them. This means your nature, your past, or your temper aren't what define you. It's the stories you tell yourself about who you are that hold you back. Change isn't easy. It's messy, uncomfortable, and often downright painful. But growth isn't optional if you want a life that means anything. The real question you need to ask is, am I acting this way because it's truly who I am, or because it's easier than doing the hard work to change? The intelligent man chooses to confront this uncomfortable truth head-on. He understands that wisdom isn't a destination, it's a lifelong journey. It's not about hating who you are right now. It's about respecting yourself enough to know that you're capable of more. And that's the mindset that drives constant improvement. In the end, and that's just how I am, is a dead end, a wall that keeps you from reaching your potential. The Stoics remind us that life, by its very nature, is change. To resist change is to resist the very essence of life itself. The man who gets this doesn't fear change. He welcomes it. He knows he's not finished, and that's exactly why he keeps pushing forward. He sees himself as a work in progress, unfinished but always willing to grow. And in that willingness to change, to evolve, lies the true essence of wisdom. So ask yourself, are you going to stay just how you are, or are you ready to become something greater? And there you have it, the 7 things an intelligent man never says. Remember, your words are powerful. They shape your reality and define your future. The Stoic mindset teaches us that growth isn't just about what we do, but about what we say. And more importantly, what we choose not to say. So next time you catch yourself using these limiting phrases, challenge yourself to break free and speak with intention. If you're ready to embrace change, take responsibility and unlock your true potential, hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey of wisdom.